Yeah, I mean, that's something I can't turn off. I never stop giving coach tips. Coach tips extends beyond just athletics too. They're life tips as well. Um, once I picked up Randy Rara as like my little sort of protege, and I feel like I can mold her. I never stop coaching.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on.
Hey y'all, welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and writer on Women's Wrestling Talk. And I'm so happy to be sitting here with WoW superhero Coach Campanelli. Coach, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm just really glad to talk to you and to get to know you because you are such an amazing superhero when it comes to WoW. So I'm just really glad to be sitting here talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk on Women's Wrestling Talk as well.
Yes. So let's get started. You were trained by the likes of Selena Majors and Tessa Blanchard. So how was that experience, and what were some of the things that you learned that you still hold on to?
Well, I was really lucky in that we got a lot of kind of guest trainers with all different kinds of experience, but working under Selena is really awesome. She really loves wrestling, and there was such a good combination of, like old school wrestling, new school wrestling, and really getting um, all of the years of experience just from the start of the sport.
Okay, that's great. So what would you say in terms of you becoming a WoW superhero? What were some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in order to become your own wrestling hero? Because that's one of the best parts about the programming of WoW superheroes is hearing the stories of all the women.
Yeah, that's something that I really love about WoW is that they really highlight each person as an individual and where they came from and everything. I personally have always been athletic, always into sports and all kinds of stuff. So for me, I watched wrestling since I was young, so I've been a fan for a long time. So when the opportunity came up to be able to try out, it was just kind of like a natural, like that's the next thing. And so that's kind of how I came to it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty amazing that you were a participant in various other sports, and when you had the opportunity to do that, you were able to do it and you were glad to have that opportunity. So, what other sports, did you play, outside of participating in wrestling?
Well, I've had a longer experience with certain sports, but I kind of do a little bit of everything. I mean, that's just kind of uh a tidbit about me, I guess, is no matter what I pick up, I'm typically pretty good at it. But softball, I played for a long time. I love softball and baseball. I grew up playing other sports, basketball, soccer. I did cheerleading for a long time too, quite a while. Um, but now I'm a wrestler. And so a bit of everything informs the way that I wrestle, which is really cool too.
So, you're essentially Mrs. Perfect of WoW.
I mean, if you're saying it.
Definitely. So, one of the things that I've noticed since watching this iteration of WoW is that you seem to give advice, which are your coach tips before, during, or even after your matches. So, is this something that you feel is necessary in order to get the outcome that you want in your matches?
Yeah, I mean, I that's something I can't turn off. I never stop giving coach tips. Coach tips extends beyond just athletics too. They're life tips as well. Um, once I picked up Randy Rara as like my little sort of protege, and I feel like I can mold her. I never stop coaching. You in baseball or any sport, the coach is not just sitting on the side silent. They're constantly giving tips and critiques. You can see from the outside what's happening, so it's easier to shout out what, like, maybe, calling an audible or something, pick up from what's happening and help your teammate to try to swerve.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. The first coach that I think of that does stuff like that is sort of like Nick Saban, because I'm from Alabama, of course. So he's kind of like one of the coaches when it comes to college football because Alabama is so dominant, right? And you
Right.
see him, you know, not only just giving advice from the sidelines, but whenever stuff isn't going his way, he will be very vocal about that and make it known, like, no, this isn't right. So it's
Hmm.
funny that you apply that to wrestling and also to WoW and also with Randy Rah Rah. And
Yeah.
it seems that this has been helping you guys out because you guys have been on a dominant tear here lately. So how has the experience of tagging with Randy Rah Rah been different from you starting off as a solo star?
It's definitely been something for me to try to overcome, releasing a little bit of control and not being in the ring. But I trust her enough to listen to what I have to say, my coaching tips. And, it's also, it's kind of better in a way where you can kind of catch your breath for a second, stay fresh. And if Randy's getting into trouble, tag coach in and I'll come in.
Yes, definitely. Like we've seen that, you know, in the last few weeks. And of course, you know, it's probably a no-brainer that at some point the both of you will go after those wild tag titles. So is that like a goal for you guys, you know, immediately, or is that something that you are willing to work up to?
I always have my eyes on the prize. So whatever opportunity they'll give me, even if it's something I have to take myself, I want, the notoriety. I want people to know that I am more than just talk. I can walk the walk too. And if that means us going for tag team championship title belts, we will absolutely do that. So I am prepared. I always come prepared.
Yes, but also with that preparation that you and Randy Rara have, is it possible that your coaching might sort of overshadow what Randy Rara brings to the table initially anyway? Like, are you afraid that maybe you'll overshadow her own agency as her own athlete?
I don't think so. I don't see it that way personally. I think that I'm imparting my wisdom and my experience from all facets onto her. And I'm trying to utilize her skill and ability that she already has because that's what drew me to her anyway. And I'm not just going to see what makes her shine and then dampen it and try to overshadow it. But at the same time, I like to lead by example and, kind of be the head. So if that means just taking initiative and jumping in, then so be it. But I would hope that she would learn from watching as well and from my coach tips and can not only impart what skill she has and makes her great, but also maybe learn something new and learn when to implement new skill and stuff.
That's a pretty diplomatic answer. I like that very much. You're still giving her agency while also understanding that you are the coach and that there is a level of trust that the both of you have to have with each other in order to succeed. So I definitely like that answer there. So you and Miss Randy Rara have a tough test on the horizon because you both have to face off against the imposing G.I. Jane and the disciplinarian, along with Samantha Smart as the X Factor outside the ring. Is there a special strategy that the both of you have heading into this match that could lead you guys to victory against Cold Discipline? That's the name I call them.
Cold discipline.
Yes.
I like that. Well, we do have the slight benefit of having wrestled the disciplinarian before. So we know a little bit about what she can do and her moves. Definitely won't try to underestimate her. Samantha Smart is always a wild card. You never know what she's going to try to pull. So we got to keep a third eye out for her. And G.I. Jane, like I've seen her a little bit, but it's going to be kind of a new ball game wrestling her, especially since she is such an imposing, strong force. And, Randy's even smaller than I am. So for us, I think going into it, it's all going to be a mental strategy and trying to assess as we go along if anything we need to change.
Of course, and we definitely look forward to seeing that confrontation coming up on the horizon. So, what would you say are one of the things that you do to take care of yourself mentally, as your star rises at Wow Women of Wrestling?
I think for me, it's like I said, kind of keeping my eye on the prize, kind of focusing on my own strategies, my own training. Being physical definitely helps me get out of my head too. But I think since I have like such a coach eye and I'm constantly looking at other people and kind of critiquing, that helps me to know what I need to do when I go up against an individual or a team, what they can do together, what they do it as on their own, how that would affect me and how I need to change what I do for each person. So that definitely informs that. And I think all preparation is what helps me go in with a confident, strong mind.
Definitely. I like that mindset. So before I let you go, I have one more question. Is there ever, of course, you have the Fab Four who are adding people to their faction, more and more each time with the addition of Vicky Lynn McCoy and also the Carlson twins. Um, is there a possibility that you would be looking to add someone to Team Spirit?
You know, I won't say no. I think that finding good talent is always something on a coach's mind, something on my mind. And I think if I find somebody with the right attitude and talent and potential that could be a good team with me and Randy, there's nothing stopping me from trying to create my own team.
Exactly. And I think that would be really great if there was more of an addition to Team Spirit. But it seems that the both of you, you and Randy Rara, already have a working relationship and you guys will continue to go far. Well, Coach Campanelli, thank you so much for joining us here on Women's Wrestling Talk. And if you don't mind, just tell everybody where they can find and follow you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Campanelli _wow. And you can find me on Twitter at Coach Campanelli.
Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, on Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. And until next time, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.